Hello there, YouTube. My name is Patchy. You all might know me from many such battles, having watched on Air's channel over the last several years. Of course, I came about later on in this process, very much a made-up figure from one of his beloved campaigns. And now you all know me as that lovable scamp who started in Austria as a peasant and made his way to ancient Sengoku, Japan. And I'm here today to tell you some of my favorite Christmas traditions and stories. Let's start out in the ancient world, where we all know that they celebrated Christmas, regardless of the fact that Christ hadn't been born yet, and none of this tradition was there. Here we're recalling one of our favorite Germanian traditions, called the killing of the peasants. Dogs, berserkers, and angry, screeching women all come together in the middle of the snowy forest, simply to enjoy hacking the limbs off of peasants. What better way to ring in the spirit of the season than by ending some poor fool's life? Definitely one of the traditions that stuck out in the ancient world. Nobody really knows why the Germanians started this tradition, but they certainly enjoyed it. They enjoyed it so much, and every year they would remember the peasants flying into the air. One of my other favorite ancient Christmas traditions that inspires me is called the popping of the peasant corn. This tradition began in Cappadocia long ago, and it was completed by surrounding a large group of peasants and forcing them closer and closer together until such a time as they popped up into the air, making all kinds of horrible noises. The Cappadocians thought this brought them good luck throughout the year. Of course, the peasants involved in the tradition did not agree. Despite their disagreements, this tradition continued for many years, until peasant corn became quite a rarity and was no longer able to be found in the land of Cappadocia. But until that time, the people enjoyed this tradition, year after year after year. Yet, there were more traditions in the ancient world, one of which was caroling. Many people don't know it, but Scipio Africanus sent a delegation to the ancient city of Carthage one Christmas night. The Carthaginians welcomed them with scalding hot figgy pudding. The Romans enjoyed this, and decided to knock on the door so that they could sing their Christmas carols. It was an interesting thing. However, little did the Romans know that they were about to experience some wonderful hospitality. The Carthaginians had their friends from their other pointy friends over. The Romans knocked, the Carthaginians answered the door and sent out carolers of their own. These carolers preferred to ride on elephant back in order to spread Christmas cheer more effectively. The Romans enjoyed spending the time with the Seleucids and the Carthaginians. It was a time of much forgiveness after many wars. They sang such carols together as, "Ouch, that hurts," "Stop with the trampling," "Why is there an arrow in my eye?" and many other such favorites from that period. They enjoyed the night together, and it was a peaceful time, a time for reparations between the Carthaginians and the Romans. One other story from the ancient world you may not know of is the sharing of the Roman fireworks with the Britons. Long ago, whenever Caesar traveled to Britain, he wanted to impress them with Roman technology, so he brought the best of their fireworks. However, the fireworks malfunctioned, and many Britons paid with their lives, yet it was a spectacular show. And it was the beginning of a tradition that we're familiar with in the United States now, as the New Year's fireworks. So this is where it all began. The Romans had a good idea, and they certainly wanted to share this time with their friends, but for some reason, the captain of the British forces, or I guess Britannian forces in this time period, didn't so much enjoy it. Nobody really knows why. Maybe it's because flaming death wasn't what he had in mind, but the Romans certainly enjoyed putting on this show for their newfound friends. And afterwards, there was absolutely no fighting in Britannia, although the city did require quite a lot of repair, and the Romans learned that tents were very, very flammable, and also that the Britons didn't prefer to be a charred corpse on the ground. and many other such lessons that help them cross the cultural barrier. But this is how things were learned in the ancient world, by sharing culture and learning from the results. Now I'd like to move on to a little bit more modern times and remind you from some of my favorite holiday stories during the Austrian times. One such occasion was when I tried to broker a Christmas peace treaty with the Ottoman Empire, with whom we were at war. Things did not go well. Apparently they took offense to the fact that I flatulated in front of their delegation, at which point their artillery opened fire on my men. Of course, my men were part of Patchy's Peace Corps, and were never really good at fighting anyway. There were few survivors. One of my other favorite Christmas stories took place when Austria sent me to the New World, and I tried to broker a peace treaty with our newfound Cherokee friends. They instructed us all to stand in their circle, their peace circle. All of a sudden, we were hit by lots of sharp projectiles, and many of my men died. Once again, Patchy's Peace Corps was humiliated. Later on, as they were removing my fingernails and toenails, the tribal chief explained that I was a stupid white man and had fallen for their trap. I learned much about their culture that day, and one thing's for certain: Patchy's Peace Corps was never quite the same after this time. But it's a holiday that we'll never forget. More recently, you've known me in the Sengoku period of Japan, so let's go there and learn some of my favorite Christmas stories. One snowy Christmas, my men learned that Patchy's Peace Corps could not win a battle by simply standing still. I had trained my men, and we had decided that if we just stood there and died stoically, that our enemies would take pity on us and surrender. It turns out that this wasn't the case, but my men did die stoically, much in the spirit of Christmas. Especially once the ground was covered in red. It was certainly an experience that the men will never forget. I remember when they came to me, speaking of the experience, saying, "Patchy, what in the world made you think that would work? Why do we listen to you? And what in the world makes us follow you? And why haven't I received my paycheck?" Good times. One other such good holiday memory was when I sent my well-trained, new-founded Patchy's Peace Corps, who were the best fighting men in the world, to negotiate with the Nodachi people from the north. It turns out that my men really weren't the best trained in the world. Once again, my men learned of many holiday traditions from their conquerors, the traditions of throat-slitting, pain, suffering, and despair. It was a Christmas that they will never remember, mainly because they were dead, and the loss of blood also does not facilitate memories. The next Christmas memory I have was the following year, when I sent my Lone Sword Corps to negotiate a peace treaty with the Katana cavalry hordes. Peace was indeed found. There was much peace on the battlefield once all of my men were trampled and dead. It only took seconds. There were no survivors. Lastly, I want to share with you one of my favorite holiday memories. It was when my men and I went out to tell Christmas stories to the opposing forces. The enemy forces enjoyed our stories, and in return wanted to share with us their flaming Yule arrows. We sat and waited, not knowing what to expect, as this was a new tradition. And they showed us their tradition, and it was beautiful. Seeing my men burn to death, while pierced with many arrows, drew me upon much reflection. During this reflection, I decided that I've been privileged to many fine Christmases, and that despite what part of the world, or what time period I'm in, there's always something to be thankful for. As in this case, I'm thankful that I died quickly. Of course, I'm Patchy, and I never really die. At least, not for too long. Yes, the suffering through Christmases has been great over the years, and we've learned a great deal, and enjoyed a lot of good times together. I appreciate you joining me this Christmas, and I look forward to many fine Christmases with you in the future. I hope that you all enjoy your holidays, no matter what you celebrate or how you celebrate it. And remember, just remember, sometimes, even when things seem like a disaster, it can still be a wonderful Christmas. So as you all lay down to go to sleep and await the arrival of Christmas Day, or the other special day that you may be celebrating, remember what Patchy has taught you this day, that I've taught you how to enjoy Christmas, even in the worst of times. We all know that I transcend total war boundaries, time periods, and anything else for that matter, including death. So I know that I'll see you again in the future. I hope you've enjoyed my Christmas traditions and stories. To everybody, have a happy holiday.